Well, hello folks, this is Fat Guy Flies RC coming to you from the Man Cave Studios. Alright, Hobby Zone reached out to me and said they used to be a regular sponsor of mine. They sent me planes on a regular place. They sent me all the arrows, planes, and everything I've got as far as arrows. And for whatever reason, they changed management and stopped talking to me for a couple of years. Well, I guess they went with a different branch, and they reached out to me a few weeks ago and said, hey, you used to review from us back in the day. We'd like to start up again, and we're going to send you a couple of planes for review. And I'm like, okay, not going to turn down a free plane. Well, and I told them I already had another Ranger, and they said, we want to send you a new one, one of the newer version ones with a Reflex 3 in it. I said, okay. So they sent me the Red Ranger version 2. So we're going to take it out of the box and go through it and get it set up and put together. So let's get her out of the box. And I know I've gone through, I had the yellow one, but we're going to go through this one. This is the red one, and we're going to put it together. Put it together. How about that? Alrighty. And this is just probably one, as far as tricycle gear, one of the best trainer planes and most robust gear you're ever going to find. Very excellent trainer. And runs on a good size 3S. You can run from a 1300 up to a 2200, whatever you can shoehorn in there. I'll be running a Turnigy 2200 3S shorty because it takes up the same space as a 1500. The plane has a 3136 1200 kV motor with a 20 amp Predator ESC. Runs on, I've already mentioned, a 3S with at least a 25 seat discharge. Two-piece wing, high strength gear, definitely a crash-proof front gear, twist and lock assembly for the struts or the wings. 10 to 15 minutes, it depends on how aggressively you fly. Floats are optional. I don't think this didn't come with the floats. And comes with the Reflex. Now the Reflex system has 3 levels. It has no gyro at all. And I think they call that direct mode. Then they have optimized mode, which is similar to wind mitigation or AS3X, just helps the light little plane fly well in the wind. And doesn't save you, it just helps you even out your flight. And then it's got stability mode, which is the same thing as self-leveling or safe in the Spectrum world. And this is the red one. So, all right, let's get everything out of the box. And as usual, most like these more reputable companies, the way they pack these planes, you can drop it off the back of a bus or a truck or something, and you ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's gonna do just fine. All right. Don't mean to put my head in your face. I'm sorry. First wing. And like y'all, if you watch enough of my channels, you'll know that when I say you can see the individual cells of the foam, but you certainly can't feel them. Good, beautiful paint, little bit of a fill mark there, a little blemish there, but nice high visibility color scheme, contrast between top of the wing, bottom of the wing, which is help for a beginner. Non-folded manual. We don't like folded manuals here. We make a big deal out of it. An unnecessarily big deal out of that. Wing spar, which is very important for the strength of the wing. Okay, try to keep up with your debris the best you can. And pay attention, and I highly recommend, if you're new to this, to film this unboxing for yourself. Not necessarily to start a YouTube channel, but if you film this unboxing and you have a problem and you have to send it back, these are like a real intricate pieces of a puzzle. It's kind of hard to figure out how to get them back. So if you film it, helps you out. You can kind of figure out. And if you see something wrong, you can say, hey, look, something's wrong. Okay. Okay, got your very robust gear. And see, there's your, that's that Reflex 3 in there. That's the gyro right there. Now, this particular reflex is going to come tuned just so for this plane. Now, you could go ahead and get the app if you want on your phone and by Bluetooth connect to that and change the settings a little bit if you like. But I have found that FMS doesn't, when they tune it to the plane, they do an excellent job and there's really no change needed. Now, look at that. That's ideal for a beginner there, that nose gear. Nice, decent sized battery bay. Tongue and groove, you just put that in there, let that click or snap into place. Got yourself your elevator, or sometimes called your horizontal stabilizer. Now make sure you work this foam. Now this has got a nice foam hinge, but it's got laminate in there, which is protection. And you kind of, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of shiny in there. That tells you there's laminate in there. And what that does, that helps keep that foam hinge healthy. Now always check things like this. Sometimes they'll put screws and stuff wrapped up in the white foam. So make sure you check things like that. Now this is a, really this is kind of an antiquated way of doing it. Back to the Reflex 2, you had to plug it into the computer and you could change the rates using the computer. But now the Reflex 3 is controlled by a phone app. And all your bits and bobs and your screws that you need. Okay. And always check, look down in the bits and cavities and stuff. Make sure there's nothing in here, because lots of times these companies will like to put a foam part that's all white in a white area and you'll miss it. Okay. And the back half of the fuselage, which is nice because it keeps the shipping low and making the box smaller. Again, you've got a nice foam hinge on your rudder. Got your aileron, your elevator and rudder connection back here. Go ahead and pull them out. Okay. Actually, that's the elevator, and your rudder is actually controlled inside the airplane. Okay. All right. Nothing in there, nothing in there, and nothing in there. Okay. Now, actually, okay, we're good. Let's go ahead, start working, get all of our parts out, make sure we've got everything we need. We got both of our wings. We've got our wing spar, got our gear. Okay, let's get our camera view changed and look down at this, and we'll start putting this bad boy together. And I'm thinking I'm going to need a, looks like a 2mm hex drive tool is probably all I'm going to need. All right, let's get our tools together. We'll be right back. All righty, we're back. First thing you're going to want to start off with is you're going to have to put your fuselage together. And you're going to need 2 of these little smaller 10mm screws. Okay, I just dropped them. They look like that. Okay, they're the smaller ones. You got 2 different sizes in here. All right. Now you do get the tool needed to, it's these little Allen wrenches here, little metal screws, but I like to use my own tool. It's 2mm hex drive screws, or screwdrivers like I like to use. All right, now what you're going to want to do, is grab your fuselage here, okay? And you're going to want, you see that hole there? See that hole there at the end? Okay, and the end of that hole there, okay, and this wire, okay, this is your servo lead, okay, for your rudder. You're going to want to fish all this together, okay, and what you're going to want to do is that long servo wire is going to fit down there. This dangly thing here is the servo wire, and then you're going to fit the carbon spar in that hole right in there. Fish that wire, that carbon spar in there. Okay. Make sure you take your rudder elevator servo wire and then fish that through there. Okay. Easier said than done, but just a little bit of working, you can get it done. That's all you got to do. Just get that through there. Okay. Slide the 2 pieces together. And then if you kind of shake your fuselage a little bit, and you can shake it down, and you can pull that. You can see that. What it is, I'm just reaching up there and I'm grabbing it. I might even use my screwdriver there. And then pull that elevator wire out. Okay. And right there it is. Inactivity. Yes, yes, inactivity. Okay. Now, if you look, all these wires here coming off your reflex, these are what's going to plug into onto your receiver. So set them off the side. But if you look on the reflex, you've got, kind of looks like there's a space there in between the throttle and the aileron. There's a little bit of a space in there. Okay, you can kind of maybe kind of see it. Okay, well, that's where that elevator wire is going to plug into. All right, and if you look on the, if you look on the reflex, where the symbol is, the label, your signal wire, see them yellow wires, how they're all facing that? That's what's going to, that's the way you're going to hook it up. The yellow wire is going to face the middle of the reflex. So I'm going to take this yellow elevator wire, and I'm going to just kind of wedge them in there. Kind of wedge that right in there. Okay. Hopefully this is coming out on video. Okay. All right, so now, now my elevator is now plugged into that middle channel that was between the throttle and the aileron on the reflex, with the yellow wire going towards the front of the plane. All right, now that we got that done, if you look, you say, well, what about that rudder? Okay, well, if you look right there, okay, if you look right there, see that brass circular thing there? Okay, my finger's pointing at it right here. Right there, that right there. Okay, that wire that's back here, we're going to open this up a little bit. Actually, we need a smaller tool. You can take the smaller Allen wrench that came with the kit, okay, and you can open that up a little bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to fish that wire through there, okay. I'll pull that grub screw out just a little bit. Now that's what you call a grub screw in there. Okay, and it's wanting to be cantankerous. Okay, it's the whole thing's wanting to move. So, what I like to do, let's see if we can coax it into working here. All right, you see that wire coming in there? All right, I'm going to turn that connector, that's called a quick connect, is what that's called. Okay, and I'm going to guide that through. There's a hole on the side. I'm going to guide. You can't really see what I'm doing. My hand's in the way. I'm sorry. Okay, but if you look, you see that quick connect. Now, just by the point, I'm pointing right at it. See that wire pushing through now? See that wire pushing through? All right. Now I know we haven't cooked our fuselage up yet, but looky here. See, that was connecting to the rudder there. So what we can do, we're going to go ahead and hook up our connection, okay? I like a lot of rudder authority, so if you move the connection further in, you'll get the most authority. If you go further out, you get the least amount of authority. Okay, so let me just show you, okay? So further in, more movement. Further out, less movement. So let's just put it, for a beginner's sake, let's just put it in the very middle, okay? That on there, it'll kind of snap into place. Slide your fuel tubing. That fuel tubing is just a protection to keep that from coming undone. And we'll just slide that in there. That beeping sound is a battery that just got charged. Well, since we got it upside down here, let's go ahead and join our two pieces of fuse together. You're going to take them smaller 10mm hex head drive screws I was talking about. Okay. Look down there, you'll see a brass, how it lines up. And just connect that. Okay. And you'll start feeling it get bite, and when it bottoms out, just about a half turn. Okay, there you go. Then turn your model over. Okay, and looky there. Got another hole. Take another one of these 10mm hex drive screws. Okay, drop it. Always drop something. We're going to put that down there. Sometimes you have to wiggle it to get it to get bite, but it'll connect. Okay, got it bottoms out. About half a turn, just your finger, the strength of your fingers on the end of the tool. All right, now that fuselage is on there. Let's turn our model back over. Okay, and look what we've got here. Got our elevator. All right, now see how you've got these two holes here and those two holes there, and it kind of tongue and grooves in. Well, FBI calls that a clue. So put that in there like that. Now you're going to take two of the longer screws. Now these are a little bit longer. These are 16mm. They're a little bit longer. You're going to take two of them, okay, and just drop those puppies in there. Okay, just like so. Now you could use the little Allen wrench that they provided with you, but I'm going to just use my tool. I'm used to using my own stuff, but you could easily use what they give you. You'll feel it get bite. That's a good sound. Okay, do the back one. All right, you start seeing a dent in like that, you know you're there. Okay, we're not hooking the control surface up yet. We're going to leave that alone. All right, let's turn our attention to the gear, to the rolly stuff. All right, the rolly stuff. Now here, you're going to be using different size screws. Okay, you notice you've got 4 connections here. Okay. Okay. See how this fits in there? All right. Used to be you put a screw right there, but you don't anymore. Okay. You're going to take 2 of the long ones, those 16mm ones, and they're going to go towards the rear. Okay. I know I say K a lot. Okay. And that's going to go back here. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm screwing up. I am screwing up big time. Because there's a backing plate that holds all that in place. Okay, see how this is? Its key is going to fit right in there. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? That just fits down there like that. Then you take these bigger screws. Okay? And that's going to fit down in there like that. And lock everything in place. You might want to turn the model to where you can get good leverage on it, which is always a good thing. You're going right, that screw is going right through that fuselage and into that brass fitting. Okay, to make it nice. And believe it or not, that is a good sound. That may sound squeaky. A tight model is a happy model. Okay, okay. And then you're going to take 2 of the smaller ones, the little 10mm. Okay, and they're going to go up front. No, okay. I keep saying okay. All right. Oh, always poking model. Now that hole right there is if you had floats, that controls the steerable nose rudder or the float rudder. That would be a hole to fish that line through. Okay. All right. One more screw there. Come on, baby. There you go. All right. That gear is in there. It has a definite bottoming out point. Go ahead and get it down to this bottoming out point, but don't go any further. Don't force it beyond that. Okay. That's on there. That tail's on there. let's go ahead and turn our model over now. Okay, now what we got to do is hook everything else up. Okay, you got an XT60 here. Okay, this XT60 connects to your battery. You want to fish that back through there so you can get a hold of it up front where the battery is. So kind of just loop that back through there like so. Okay. All right. Now you're going to see these two things here, these little pigtail looking things. This is this is your aileron. It's called a Y. It's one wire that hooks into one, they come together to make one signal. This is going to control the ailerons or the control surfaces of your wing. But while you're here, before you hook that up, let's go ahead and get this model bound up. Okay, before we hook up them ailerons. All right, so what you're going to, and this is the receiver I'm going to use, which is just an AR620, and you must have, if you want to use all three levels of the gyro, you've got to have a channel, and you're going to assign that to a 3-position switch. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. And that way you control all the different levels. You can turn the gyro off, turn it on, do the self-leveling one, okay? But on Spectrum, it's always going to be, you're going to put the signal part towards the label of the receiver, okay? So there's the signal wire, is the yellow wire, or wherever the lightest colored wire is. And this is all coming off the reflex. You're going to take your throttle, which is always going to go to channel 1. And I'm going to plug it right there in channel 1. That's how that looks. Okay, the next one is always going to be aileron. It's always going to go throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder. Your 4 basic channels. Aileron, I see how I've got the yellow wires on the top part of the receiver. Then I'm going to go elevator next. Okay, and then I'm going to go rudder. You say, oh, that's great and dandy. What about that controlling? All right. Now, I have a 5th channel and a 6th channel still open. So I'm going to I want this on a 3-position switch. Well, I'm going to skip channel 5 and I'm going to go to channel 6. That's just what, well, you know what? No, I'll show you how to do it. We'll put it in channel 5. We'll just put it in channel 5, keep it nice and neat. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for just a minute. I'm going to take some double-sided tape. And I'm just going to tape that to the side of the fuselage. Got a piece of Gorilla tape, 2-sided tape. And I'm just going to put that right in there, just like that. Okay. And I'm going to tape it to this side, opposite my gyro. It doesn't matter where you put it so much, because you just want to have it up and away, and we'll get good signal. That's going to be a good signal right there. Kind of up and around. Okay, now if this was a gyroed receiver, I'd have to be more specific about where I put it. But in this case, I just have to get signal. So I'm going to just let that ride. See how that's going to do? Ride right there. All right. And now I've still got these signals, and I still haven't hooked up the rudder yet, but that's okay. I want to get everything centered, and the best way to do that is go ahead and bind the model up. Okay. So go ahead and take your hatch off. Just go ahead and get your Velcro straps open here. Okay. If you can do it. And get yourself a battery installed. Okay. But we're going to do something first to the transmitter before we do anything with this plane. Okay. If I can get the Velcro. They got that Arnold Schwarzenegger Velcro in there. Okay. Take my battery. This is just a 2200 shorty Turnigy. It's just a 3S battery. Perfect for this plane. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just install it. I'm going to ride right there on that Velcro. Put that down in there like that. Okay, and it's not going anywhere. All right, so now we're going to put our model off to the side for just a minute. Before I go binding anything, okay, what I want to do, okay, hopefully you can see this. I've already set up a basic model, and it's ready to talk to a model, but it doesn't know anything yet. It's not connected to it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to Model Adjust, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is hit a throttle cut. And I'm going to hit Inhibit to make it selectable, and then I'm going to pull my H switch. And that made selectable. Okay, and then that will turn it off if I pull it up towards me, because for safety. All right, I've got the basic model ready to go. I've picked what kind of airplane. Well, let me show you. You're going to go to Model Setup, okay, and you're going to hit Channel Assign. Oh, sorry, not Channel Assign. We're going to go there in a minute, but you're going to go Aircraft Type, okay. Yes, okay. Got to hold it down. Okay, and we're going to hit Normal Wing. It's already picked, but that's just for good measure. That way you know what to do. Normal Wing. All right, go back. Okay, now Channel Assign. Okay, remember we put that mode gyro on we went on a 3-position switch. I had it in channel 5 where a gear would be. Well, this is where it normally would be. It says gear, but it wants to know where I'm going to control it at. Okay, well I'm going to make this selectable. I like my B switch. Okay, see how that changed to B just now? So gear, or the gear physical opening on the receiver, is now controlled by B, because I told it to pick this. Now I'm going to back out of here. Okay, back out again, and get out here, making sure my throttle cut on. We're going to test it. All right. Now what I'm going to do, pull everything off the side. Okay, I'm going to plug the model in. Okay, now one thing you should do, I'm not doing it here, but one thing you should do is go ahead and remove this prop. Don't have the prop on inside the shop. Okay, but for reasons of the video and time, we're going to leave it on. Okay, all right. I'm going to plug, keeping my hands away from that prop because shouldn't have it on right now. I'm going to plug that in. Okay, now look at that thing starting to flash. I'm going to hold the bind button down on my receiver to where it's starting to flash. That's saying, hey, we want to talk to somebody. And I'm going to hit the bind on my transmitter and then hold that down.
Binding. Bind complete. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry.
All right, that just changed. Okay, the ESC starting to arm. Okay, and it's starting to get itself all set up. Okay, so just set that to the side for just a second. All right, now I'm going to show you something. All right, watch or listen for that rudder. Okay, see that servo, the rudder servo move? That means I'm getting connection. Things are starting to talk to each other. Now, let's verify carefully that our throttle cut's working. I'm going to put it down. Oh, hey, okay, it's working. Now I'm going to pull it back. See, it's not working now. All right, now I'm going to show you something to do that you can do while you're here. I want to show you how to calibrate your ESC. Probably don't need to, but sometimes when you set up a new model and you hit a little bit of throttle and nothing happens, that's because your throttle's not calibrated. So let me show you how to do that. Unplug your model. Make sure your throttle cut is off. In other words, your throttle would be live. Okay? Go to full throttle. Set your transmitter down. Plug in your ESC, plug in your model, and you're going to wait for 2 beeps. When you hear those 2 single beeps, you're going to pull your throttle down. And it's going to calibrate the ESC.
Timer stop.
Okay. All right. Now, watch. Now, the throttle cut's on, so I got my hand. Watch. I've got immediate throttle response.
Timer stop.
Okay.
Timer stop.
Okay. I know, and my throttle cut now works. So I can hit throttle all day long. That motor's not going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and tuck our wires. Put our battery hatch in for right now. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and get our rudder anchored down. Remember we had that tool? Okay, we're gonna see. Look at that rudder wire. Watch how it's kind of got some slop in there. Well, I want to anchor that down. Okay, I don't want that moving around. Oh, I'm going to need a different tool. They give you a smaller Allen wrench, and I, of course, have no idea what's happened. Oh, it's right here. Okay, you're going to take a smaller Allen wrench. This is a 1.5, I believe. And what I'm looking at, I want to make sure that that rudder is nice, and that's all linear. That's all straight together. Okay, that looks good to me. Okay, make sure that's nice and straight. We've already hooked that up. Okay, now I'm going to go there and I'm going to anchor that down. Remember, right to tight, left to loose. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, and that's going to anchor that down. Be easier with my tool, but just for argument's sake, just to show you. Okay, yeah, that's in there. Now, look at that rudder servo move now. Okay. Now there's no slop in it. No, there's no slop in it at all. It's got a good connection. All right, so we're going to change our camera views so hold on just a second. Okay, still got our model here. We're still live and all that kind of good stuff. I want to show you something real quick. Okay, look at that reflex in there, right? Okay, remember how I put everything on that B switch? Watch how that reflex is going to change colors. You may not be able to see it. Might be too bright. Yeah, there's a very faint, okay, there's that one. Kind of a slow strobe. And then there's a constant, okay? Now, the constant, let me see. Okay, all right, the constant, that one right there, that constant's a red on the middle of the receiver here. It says reflex version 3. That light, that constant, that's their optimized mode or wind mitigation. Okay, now if I move my B switch to my middle position, look how that changes. Okay, see how the light changes on the reflex. Hopefully, I think it's out, right? It's out. That's no gyro. That's nothing. Okay. Now, if I pull that switch closest to me, okay, look at it now. Kind of a flashing strobe, right? All right. What that is, that's self-leveling. Okay. Now, I know my gyro is on. I know my gyro is working. I'm going to turn it back to gyro off. We're going to hook up our elevator because we know that the elevator servo is centered. Okay. Now, if I want the most deflection, the most movement, or the best movement, I'm going to put it on I'm going to hook up the furthest edge or the furthest length hole of the servo arm and the innermost hole, okay, to the control surface, and that gives me the most movement. However, this is supposed to be a trainer, okay? We're going to try to keep this as a training. So I'm going to actually put this in the middle. I'll still put the outermost hole on the rudder or the elevator servo, okay? Yep, see? Now, what I'm looking to do is I want this elevator nice and level. And you can see on the side that it's pretty much level. That's pretty much in good shape. All right, it's level. So if it wasn't, this connection, I would screw this in or out to make that level. But that looks like it's pretty good, except it's not going to hook up just right. So I'm going to have to screw this in a little bit to make this a little bit shorter. Okay, just a little bit. And then you see the little pins there. And line up, hold this in place, and then you're going to hook that up. And that looks pretty darn good right there. Okay? Yeah, that looks good right there. Let me take a look. Oh, no, maybe that's just a little too much. A A little more. Okay. Hook that back to that middle pin. Be careful with them little teeth. Now that little, yeah, that looks good. Okay. Snap that in place. Slide your fuel tubing back over there. Okay. Now. All right. This is all hooked up. Your rudder's hooked up. Your elevator's hooked up. Your gear's all hooked up. Time to get that wingy dingy on. All right. Don't hit everything else. All right. Remember them two pigtails hanging out right there? They're about to come into play. All right. Now you've got your strut. Go ahead and undo the tape, which I should have done this off camera, but oh well. Undo your tape and your strut. Okay. Pull out your wire. Okay. Do the same thing the other side. Put your servo wire, servo connection lead. Okay. Starting to look like an airplane, isn't it? Okay. Now, you're going to want to secure this wing together. Okay. Now, you're going to do that. See how those fit together like that? Okay. Take your wing spar. Right there, that black hole. Fish that through. It's got a stopping point. Okay. Fish the other side through. But here's what you want to do. This is the bottom of the wing. I want these wires on this side of me. So I want them to dangle underneath here. So I'm going to pull them to where they're dangling on the bottom side. In other words, they're going to hang down on the top of the wing. So they're going to hang down. All right. Then I'm going to fish. See how that keys together? See those. All right. We're going to fish that together. You're going to take two. I think it's two. Pretty sure it's two. Yeah, it's going to be two of these little 10mm screws, okay? That's the smaller ones you got. And they're going to feed in both those spots there. Okay, so let me go ahead and put that bad boy in there. Just like that. Remember that wing spar is in there now. Okay, that's nice and tight. Grab another one. Okay. Kind of support it with the back of my hand here. That's a good sound. All right. Now, see? Now I've got connection. Okay. One thing you do this, if you don't have anybody with you, maybe find something, support the wing. Grab your two pigtails, and you're going to hook them up to the ailerons. Now, remember, always watch your polarity. Light to light, dark to dark. Light to light, dark to dark. Okay? That's all you're going to do. Light to light, dark to dark. Because if you don't, it's not going to hook up right. You're going to think, stupid model. So the yellows correspond with the yellow, the reds correspond with the red, and the brown or the black is corresponding with the brown or the black. The light to light, dark to dark. Push those struts out. Let those wires just kind of dangle on in there. This is going to tongue and groove in, okay, just like that. Okay. You're going to take your two wing bolts, or fasteners, or what do you want to call them, and they just go down, then they turn, they key into place. Okay. You'll have them, there you go. They might be a little tight at first, but see how that looks now? Those are in there. All right, now turn your model over. Okay. These struts are necessary. Okay, they're keyed in. Let me just show you up close. They are keyed in. Okay. Push that in there and then click that one back. Okay. Push this one in there. Click that one back. And that is now a completed, put together Ranger 1220 made by FMS, sent to me by Hobby Zone. Okay, now let's go over what we've learned. We're still got more to go, but let's look at that gyro thing again. All right, remember I put on the B switch? If I put all the way down, that should be my wind mitigation. Just my gyros are moving, right? Okay, my gyros are moving. If I go to the middle position, there's nothing, no gyro. Now if I go the closest to me, that's the self-leveling, okay? Or sorry, that's self-leveling, furthest away. That's see how that aileron's holding its position? How that aileron's holding its position? Look at that elevator as I tilt it up. See how it's holding its position? All right, that's self-leveling. And that's the way you, now in the Reflex, in the app, in the Bluetooth app, maybe you can go on there and change the arrangement of the buttons, but I don't think you can, but I honestly, I don't know. Okay? But it works. So we know furthest away is, or further down, I'm down with safe. So all the way down with safe. Middle, hey, I ain't got nothing. I'm flying on my own. And then the closest to me, that's the wind mitigation. That's the way I want to cruise around. However way you want to remember it. Okay? Alrighty. Now, some transmitters will, like mine, I can set up audio call outs, and when I put that switch all the way down in that safe mode, I can get it to say safe. Let me get you a little bit better angle there. And I can have it say safe mode, or I can put it in the middle and say gyro off, which is probably what I'll do. And then I can put, say, optimized mode. And that way I know I got wind mitigation. All right. Remember, my throttle cut's on.
Timer stop.
Now we know. Now we know we got our gyro working right. We know it's working right. Let's make sure our control servos are going right. They should, you know, but let's make sure. If I give it right aileron, if I gave it right aileron, that's not right. Elevator's wrong. Okay. Rudder's right, but that aileron's wrong and that elevator's wrong. If I pull back on that stick, that elevator should be going up in the back. Because in order to get right aileron, I would want this control surface to be up to push that wing down to make it go that way, right? Okay. And if I want to go up, then if I pull back on the stick, that elevator should be up, pushing the front of that plane up. Well, it's not. They're both wrong. Rudder's correct, but that's the only thing that's right. So, let's fix that. Okay. Servo setup. We know our aileron is wrong, and we know our elevator is wrong. So looky there now. That aileron's correct, rudder, our elevator's right, and the rudder is correct. Everything's working right now. So, now, the gyro would be working correctly too. So if I hold up, yeah, actually the gyro was working right. Let me go back to self-leveling here. Down with safe. All right, that aileron's holding its position. Elevator's holding its position. And the rudder's holding. Okay, so the gyro was working right. Gyro's turned off. And wind mitigation gyro. All right, there you go. That's set up correctly. You say, okay, now we got a throttle cut. We know everything's working correctly. Let's talk about CG. Now, CG is your center of gravity, or how you balance the plane. On this particular plane, it should be right where the wing spar is. So that's pretty good, but let's make sure. Let's make sure in the manual, it'll tell us exactly where the CG is. And that's critical. If a plane's not balanced right, it's just not, okay, 50 to 60 millimeters back from the leading edge root of the plane. Leading edge root of the wing, leading edge, that's the front of the wing, okay? 50 to 60 millimeters back. So, let's take our model. Let's get it set upside down. Okay, and what I do is I'll get me a ruler. So hold on. A caliper. Caliper is great. Take my caliper. Okay, said 50 to 60, right? Is that what we said? Wind is The fan is messing me up. All right, 50 to 60 from the leading edge. So I'm going to take my caliper and I'm going to put it on 60. Okay, I'm going to put it on 60. I'm going to put it on the leading edge, the bottom one. I'm going to take that the first caliper, and I'm going to make a little indent in the foam. Okay, get my Sharpie, which I had sitting right here. I'm going to make a little black mark there. Just a little black mark, not going to hurt nothing. I'm going to go same thing over here, leave it, make sure it's on 60. A little black mark. Okay, now I'm going to take my caliper, take it down to 50. Go right in front of the other mark, make my little indent, and then make my little hash mark, which is 50. Little indent, make my black mark. Now, so that I'm, when you got a lot of planes, you're not going to remember everything. I'm going to actually write 60 and 50. 60 and 50. Now, if you only got 1 or 2 planes, you can remember that, but I got a lot of planes, so I'm not going to remember anything. So I've actually got 50 and 60 written on the underside of that wing. Okay. All right, so I know I got my CG where I can put it. Let's turn it back over so I can check it. Let's turn it back over. Put my fingers right between the two. I'm going to see right where I'm at. And looky there, looky there. And that's pretty much right where the wing spar is, which is very common with a high wing plane like this. Alrighty. Now, say, well, what about those rates things that people talk about? Yeah, let's talk about that. All right, I'm going to change our position a little bit on the camera because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I can kind of have to hold it still at the same time. So, rates. You're going to go to model adjust. You're going to go rates and expo. Now, you want to be able to change your rates, okay? I like to change my rates. I like to put, you got high, mid, and low. Well, or you can high rates, low rates, whatever you want to do. But I like having high, mid, and low. Well, you have to tell the computer where you want to make it controllable at. So, see where it says switch? Click that to make it selectable. And I'm going to go up here to my G switch, okay, right here. I'm going to make that selectable. Now look. See what happened? It picked the G. Okay, so I'm going to put that G switch in the lowest position, furthest away from me. Okay, and now I'm going to record what my lowest rate is going to be. Okay, and I like my lower rate for a plane like this to be 70. Okay, hit OK. I'm going to pick 40%. I like a lot of expo. Other people don't. I like a lot of expo. That's just me. I'm going to put 40. Most people use 30, but I'm going to use 40. Okay, so that's my low rate. Now I'm going to go grab that switch, and I'm going to pull the middle position. See how that changes? Well, I got to tell it what I want. Well, 100 is going to be my high, and 70 is my low, so I'm going to go 85 for mid. Okay, and I'm going to do 40% expo also. That's just me. That's how a fat guy likes to roll. Then I'm going to pull that G switch, the highest position, or the one that I consider closest to me. I think that's my high position, so that's my high rate. I'm going to leave it at 100 and give it 40% expo. Maybe. No, not 85. Okay, now I'm going to change that G switch. I'm going to go down to low. See how it changes on the screen? All right, I'm back up to high again. Now, when you say, well, that's great for aileron, now go to elevator. Select elevator, but you still got to make it selectable. So I'm going to hit switch, I'm going to hit on. I'm going to toggle my G switch. See how it went to G? And I went all the way down. So elevator, I'm going to make my low rate now. Same thing. I'm going to do 70 for low. Come on. Okay, then my expo, I'm going to do 40. Okay, change that G to the middle position. See how it switched there? It still wants to know, so we're going to go to 85. Okay, And then we're going to go to 40% expo. Okay. Pull that switch all the way up to highest position, change it to 100, and leave it. All I got to do is change my expo now. Okay. All right. Now, you say, okay, well, now we're ready for rudder. So go ahead and hit rudder. Now, for me, my preference, I like to leave my rudder at one rate. So I'm not going to assign it to a switch. I'm going to leave it at 100%. All I'm going to do is give it 40% expo. That's just how Fat Guy likes to roll. Now, expo and throws is very personal. How it feels good for you, how you like it, and that's just how that is. It's up to you. But these rates, 70 for low and 100 for high, are very typical for a high wing plane like this. I know I'm making the camera get out of zoom. Alrighty, so let's go over what we've learned. Okay, now we can lose the plane stand. Real quick, something I'm going to do that it's up to you. Remember how I put the 50 and the 60 on the wing? What I like to do for myself, for me to feel it, is I'll take hot glue. Be careful with your... This is one of the reasons why you keep the throttle or the prop off in the shop, but I'm trying to show you all this, and I'm setting a bad example. I like to take a hot glue gun, okay, and put a little dot. Remember I put those indentations and I made black dots? I like to put just a little bead of hot glue right there on it. And that way, when that dries, that gives me a little cheap little low-tech, easy little something physical for me to feel. All right, put that off to the side. And go ahead and turn it off. That's all I needed it for. I'll burn myself. And those little bubbles there will cool, and I'll have nice little hard nubs to feel when I don't have to see it. I can just feel it. All right. Now, let's turn our model over, and let's talk about those rates that we just, and I put my fingers in that glue. Okay, let's talk about them rates. You say, well, that's great. What's that look like? All right. We're going to go to our low rates. Look at that aileron. Okay, look at that elevator. Rudder's going to be the same no matter what. Now I'm going to go to that high rate closest to me. As you can see, a lot more movement. And of course, the rudder is the same. Alrighty, so I've taught you how to determine, how to find CG, how to mark CG so that you can remember. And a little trick about the glue. I've taught you how to throttle. I can't talk. I've taught you how to calibrate your ESC and how to set a throttle cut. I've shown you how to bind up a plane to get the transmitter to talk to the plane. I've also shown you how to set up your reflex and put it to a 3-position switch, and that way you can make those modes selectable. Remember, the wind mitigation is called optimized mode. The middle mode, which I'm thinking is just their direct mode, I don't think that's what they call it. It's just gyros off, basically. I'm not really sure what they call that. There's several different programs call it different things, but usually it's like direct mode or gyro off. But there's no gyro. Gyro doesn't off. And then their self-leveling mode, or as closest to you, is going to be safe. Okay? No, sorry, I told you wrong again. Safe is all the way down. I remember certain gyros that work certain ways. So whatever position that where it holds its profile or holds its position, that's going to be your self-leveling one. Okay, and in this case, it's furthest away. Now you could go in there and reverse that switch if you wanted, and then have safe up. Whatever way you want to do, you can just change that. But it's not gonna. You're not going to be able to change the arrangement. One will be safe, and wind mitigation or optimized mode are going to be furthest apart, and the gyro off is going to be in the middle. However way you flip-flop them, the gyro off will always be in the middle. That's just how the reflex works. I don't know if the app will let you change that or not. Again, if you're in the shop, take the prop off, okay? Take the prop off. Don't do like I'm doing. But I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. But there you go, folks. She's ready to rock and roll. In my transmitter, I'm going to set up some audio call outs, like safe mode, optimized mode, motor on, motor off, high rates, low rates, timer start, timer stop, things like that. But other than that, you may not have that with your transmitter, so I'm not going to cover that. I do have a video on my channel on how to set up custom callouts, but it has to be with an IX series radio, and that's only the tablet style. They're the only ones that do that. I don't think NX10 makes custom. You can get, but you got some suspension there. Great flying plane. I know this is, I don't know, my third or fourth one, but they are just awesome. This is the first time I've had a red one. They've always been yellow for me. But we're going to take it out here very soon, and we're going to demonstrate. I'm going to show you all 3 levels. We're going to do the optimized mode, which is flying around with the wind. We're going to do gyro off, and that's where you can start that for your trimming. And then we're going to do the stability mode or self-leveling, and I'm going to do a couple of taking off and landings in that mode. Now, this is nearly perfect trainer. It does have one Achilles heel, which is also one of its strengths. That front nose, okay, that is awesome, the abuse that a beginner can give it, but it also means that whenever you're in the grass, you get heavy grass that's kind of stiff, you might get a prop strike, and it makes it a little harder to take off in grass. But it's not impossible, it just makes it a little harder. So, all right, well, there you go, folks. Thank you so much for watching Hobby Zone. Thank you for sending this out for review. I can't wait to get it in the sky for y'all, and God bless y'all. Y'all have a good, and don't forget, faith, family, and friends, Ranger 1220s with Reflex version 3s. And this is Fat Guy Flies RC saying God bless y'all. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.